Hey, this is Tish Griffin here, Certified Credit Counselor with Family Credit Management Services, and I am coming to you today to talk to you about any questions that you may have regarding debt, regarding finances, regarding your budget or spending plans. So that's what this information is all available to you for. Now, if you have any questions, if you got concerns, if there are things that you need answers for that you just can't find them in this episode, there's lots of episodes available for you. Also, you can feel free to reach out to Family Credit directly at familycredit.org. You can go to the website. That's familycredit.org. Or you can call and talk to an actual counselor at 800-994-3328. And today I just wanted to take a few moments to talk about a topic where I'm getting a lot of questions from lately, and it's really just how to deal with bad debt or old debt. We've got a lot of questions that people have regarding that, and so today we want to address that in this show. First off, I do want to let you know that if you're having problems dealing with collection agencies, the counselors at Family Credit can help you with that. If you are getting medical bills all the time, you don't know what to do, reach out to a counselor. We can help go over it, tell you what your rights are as a consumer. Yes, we're going to talk about that too, and just give you some helpful information. So use Family Credit as a resource. Again, familycredit.org. So a lot of times when we find ourselves struggling with finances, the first thing that we do is we realize, that we can't really make it. And a lot of times we panic. We don't know what to do. We're not able to pay our bills. It could be due to job loss. It could be to our jobs fluctuating. It could just be to increased expenses, medical reasons. There's so many reasons why your budget gets out of whack and why people struggle with finances. Now, yet again, my situation is different from yours. Yours is different from mine. Everyone's situation is unique to them. And so that's one thing that we really need to remember. But when you're talking about dealing with collection agencies and dealing with collectors, I want you to know that you, as a consumer, you have rights in this process. And years ago, we found that we may have been victim to harsh phone calls, really harsh collections and tactics, and some places they still do that. But for the most part, I want you to know, again, you've got rights as a consumer to say, hey, I know I owe you this money, but let's find a different way to deal with it. First thing, the counselors at Family Credit are there to assist you with that. But you've got other protections, and you can find out what your rights are as a consumer as well. First step, go to the Consumer Finance website. And that is the website for the CFPB, so the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. The website is consumerfinance.gov, and you will find all types of helpful information on dealing with collection agencies and dealing with just paying off bad debt, helping you know what your rights are. So that website is there. And if you're dealing with collection agencies, a lot of times we get those phone calls. And keep in mind that there are a lot of scams out there too. So we'll talk about that as we progress within the show. But first thing, if you are dealing with collection agencies, we don't want them harassing you. Harassment should not be on debts that you owe. Now, there's certain times that a bill collector is allowed to contact you. Sometimes some of these bill collectors will say, oh, well, I didn't realize you were in a different time zone than me. I didn't realize that I couldn't call right now. It's a different time zone where I'm located. Sometimes they are not even in this country. And sometimes we struggle with different barriers knowing when they are allowed to call. But keep in mind that you as a consumer can have them note on file. Please do not contact me. The regular time that you are okay to be contacted is between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. on your time zone. So keep that in mind. If they make a note, they should be able to make a note in your file so that you're not contacted during that time. And as always, we don't want to be harassed anyway. So first off, if you are receiving harassing calls, one thing that you can do is go to the National Opt-out number. Now, sometimes we get harassing calls because we're dealing with collection agencies, but again, there are other scams out there too. There could be, you could be just set up for an auto dialer and not even know it. You could have applied for something and not even realize it, but we're stressed out because the calls are still coming through. It could say scam likely. It could just be just a blanket number, but our phones are ringing. We don't know how to make it stop. So I want you to head over to optout.com and you will be able to just do a pre-screened opt-out. And what that means is you are submitting your information so that the phone companies will know, don't let those scam calls come to you. And that's going to stop a lot of solicitation, especially if you're dealing with those calls all day long. You want to know that the people that are calling you can get through. You may have personal calls coming in. You want to talk to your family, and then all of a sudden you get this crank call or you get this auto dialer calling you. We want to help you make those stop. Again, you got that right. Look for the opt-out or the national pre-screen opt-out number and sign up for that. Throw in your cell phone number, if you've got a landline, not many people do, but they still exist, you can throw that in as well. Then when we think about the collection agencies that are calling us, first thing that you should do, again, we're going to say it, yes, dealing with collection agencies, you should always get a copy of your credit report. Go to annualcreditreport.com, grab your credit report, and take a look at what's there. Now, we know the 3 bureaus that we use are Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Now, I want to caution you, you can only get one bureau. You can get one report from each bureau. So that means that you can log in and get your TransUnion, your Experian, or your Equifax report. I suggest that you start with your Equifax report if you are getting collection calls, because Equifax typically has the collection agencies that report to them, the small mom and pop finance companies. Sometimes they have payday lenders if you're dealing with those loans that you have to pay back. So they may be there. Again, TransUnion has a really comprehensive report as well. But in order for them to report to the credit bureau, they need to belong to the bureaus. And if you've got a smaller company, a lot of times they may not report to TransUnion because it costs too much for them as a company report for everyone. So they'll just pick the cheapest one, which typically is Equifax. Go pull your report. Look and make sure or see if the collection agencies that are harassing you are listed on your report. Now, sometimes when you're looking at your report, you will see that you have a debt. And let's say it's a credit card company that you owe, but you weren't able to keep up with that payment. And so you'll see it listed there. But what happens is if you do not continue with your payments, you're unable to continue with your payments, a lot of times your accounts will do what's called charge off. When you charge off, or when an account charges off, it does not mean that you don't owe the debt. It does not mean that they're not going to call and try and harass you. It means that the creditor or the credit card company that you owe is feeling like, hey, I'm never going to get money on this account. It's not what I consider a performing asset. And that means that if the asset's not performing, they've got to take it off of their books, and because it's making their books look bad. So what they're going to do is move it to the other side and charge that debt off. Once a debt is charged off, again, that still means you owe it. And it starts a statute of limitations on an account once an account is charged off. Now, when you look on your report, you may see a field on your report that says date of last activity or date of recent activity, most recent activity. We're going to use that date as the timeline to count down of what's called the statute of limitations. And with the statute of limitations, this is a timeline that this creditor, that this collector, where they can collect on this debt and still get money off of it, even though they moved it on the other side of their books to the side where it says that it's not a performing asset. Again, you still owe it, so they want to get their money. So when that happens, the creditor has a couple of different choices. Now, they can take that account, they can handle it in-house for a while, and sometimes the creditors will keep it in-house just for a little bit, but sometimes they will send it to a collection agency. And their other choice is to send it to an attorney. So they've got different levels of collections when you're dealing with a collection agency. So when you get those calls, you can find out, hey, am I still talking to the collection department of the credit card company or the original creditor? And if so, you can work out arrangements with that to keep that account in-house. Sometimes, even though the account's gone bad, even though it started to charge off or it did charge off, sometimes those creditors still want to get some money versus not getting anything at all. So they may cut some deals with you. They may say, hey, I know you owe us $2,000, but if you can give us $1,000, or we can set you up on payment arrangements that'll total $800, then we will consider this debt as paid in full. And that's what's called a settlement offer. We'll go over that a little bit more in the show as well. But when you take advantage of those settlement offers, the great thing about that is that you don't have to worry about that debt anymore. Now, when an account charges off, you cannot use it at all. So with that being said, you're not able to use the account anyway. So it's like you're getting a percentage of it off to make that debt go away. And for a lot of people that are struggling with the budget, struggling with job loss, income loss, that might be a good way for you to go. It might be a good option to explore. Now, with that being said, with settlement offers, it's not always peachy. It's not always a positive thing. There's both positives for a settlement offer. Again, that debt's not there anymore. So that is a positive. But there could be negative things that happen as well. So when you're thinking about your credit report and an account charges off, that means that the account is closed. Again, you can't use it. They're putting it on the other side of the books. It's not an open account. And with it not being an open account, guess what? Your score could possibly fall. Because again, we're losing this history that we've built up. That closed account, them closing it, is also worse than if you were to close it on your own. So it will take away from your credit score, or it may take away from your credit score and drop that score. Again, don't panic. We've talked about lots of tips over the course of the last few months where you can recover from this. You can recover faster than you think from a charged off account. It's just about using what we talk about, doing your research, and being able to negotiate or talk to the collection agencies or creditors to get a good deal for you. If you're struggling with that, if you've got questions about that, you can reach out to a counselor at 800-994-3328 and get some help. Again, Family Credit is a great resource for you to use in this situation. Again, familycredit.org, or call a counselor at 800-994-3328. Now, when we think about this charged off account, we know it's going to affect our credit report. And sometimes when you do that charge off, when the account charges off, that's when we get the information for whoever's going to be handling it, whether it's going to be still be in house for a little bit, or it's going to go to a collection agency, or they will send it out to an attorney. Now, a lot of collection agencies or a lot of lenders or finance companies, they will not go the step of legal until it's been a long time of no payment. They feel like it's no hope, or they even know that statute of limitations is going to run out soon. So if you get an attorney, if you get a letter from an attorney, please pay attention to it, get some help, reach out to a counselor, again, familycredit.org, and see what can be done to help with that situation. But we'll talk about that again in a little bit. Let's go back to dealing with this charged off account. Now, we've got the collection letter, and we want to reach out to them to see if they will take or do a settlement offer with you. I caution you, when you deal with a collection agency, you need to protect yourself. Again, go into consumerfinance.gov. Great thing to do so that you can research how to deal with collection agencies. Also, when you start dealing with collection agencies, keep in mind the way that the reps that you're talking to, they typically will only get paid if they can make arrangements with you or get the account paid off as soon as possible. So if they are not collecting any money from you, then a lot of times you are just sitting there and they have so much time to work on this account before they have to send it back to the original creditor, or, put a recommendation in the system that says, hey, I don't think we're going to get payments on it. So they're on a timeline. They don't get paid unless you pay. So sometimes this will cause a collection agency or a collector to use very harsh tactics to try and collect some money from you. So that's why you may get collection agents that call you. They may yell at you, they may scream at you, they may threaten you even. Now, that should not happen at all. And if you come across that, I want you to remember, protect yourself, take down the name and information of the person that you're talking to, the date you talked to them, the time, take down as many notes as you possibly can, and report it to the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau at consumerfinance.gov. And while you're dealing with this account again, we want to see what arrangements that you can make to take care of this account for yourself. When you're dealing with them, do not give out your bank information until you have something in writing. So if you're calling this collection agency, and I also say, don't tell them that you have the money to pay for that right away. You want to know what your options are. You want to explore whatever options they can give you. And that's what you're calling for. So if you are going to call them, just be mindful that they really do want your money. They really do want you to take care of this debt. And so they may have some options for you when you call in. And sometimes you may have to negotiate a little bit, but keep in mind, know what your budget can allow, know what you can pay. If you feel like you can set up arrangements for a monthly payment and that's going to work for you, then you can do that. But make sure that you get in writing whatever those expectations are. So if you're saying that, yes, I need a settlement offer, but it's going to take me about 4 months to do that. They may want you to make payments They do want you to make payments right away, but you protect yourself and your budget by sticking with what it is you can actually afford to pay. And you get that outlined in a letter and have them send that letter to you before they can even start drafting money. So I want you to keep that in mind, work on everything you can, and yes, protect yourself. Protect yourself like nobody's business. Keep your information together. Write everything down. Write down who you talk to, the rep you talk to, confirmation numbers, all of that information you should keep safe. And then we want to work on whether you're doing a one-time only payment for a settlement or doing a monthly payment arrangement until you get to that settlement amount. They may say, hey, you owe us $2,000. We'll take payments of $100 for the next 10 months. And then we'll consider that debt paid in full. You want to make sure that you get the letter that says that after the end of the 10 months, this debt really will be paid in full. That's what you need, because that's going to protect you in the event something were to happen. There have been so many people that I've dealt with over the few years that have tried this tactic, that have tried to talk and negotiate a settlement on their own, only to find out, yes, I got a really great offer. They're going to accept this, but I never got it in writing. And so what happens, the creditor will say, well, I never promised you that I would take $1,000 only and you owe us $2,000. We promised you that you can pay the $1,000 and now you still owe $1,000 left, which is why getting this in writing, getting that letter emailed to you, sent to you, mailed to you is so important and so imperative. I see so many times where people have fallen victim to this, and now they have to pay more and more because they never protected themselves up front to make sure that what they got in writing was legit. Also, if you are dealing with a collection agency and you are not sure about this debt, let's say you found something on your credit report or you get a letter that says you owe something, there is a process that you can go through where you need to validate that debt. And with validation, it simply states that, yes, this is your account. You owe it, and here's when you got the account, here's the chain of history for that account, and you need that in order to prove it, especially if you don't remember if an account is yours. Very, very important for you to sit down, take some time, and validate that debt. First time you get a collection agency from a letter from a new collection agency, what they will say in the body of that letter is you have 30 days to validate that debt. And I do state, whenever you see that, get that debt validated, especially if you don't know if it's yours. Now, if you know it's yours, you know you owe them, then yes, we can go down the path of setting up arrangements. But let's just say you got this letter and this debt, you've never even seen it before. So you want to know, why is it affecting you? You want to pay attention to that letter too and see, do they report to the credit bureaus? Last thing you want is you've got this debt that just popped up. You've got this validation letter. And in 30 days, at the end of that 30 days, when they say you have 30 days to validate that, what they mean it. And during that validation time, you want to go ahead and ask them, send me proof that this is really mine. There is a lot of different instances why that debt may not even be yours. I've seen people that have similar names and the debts get crossed. People that live in the same address. You may stay in an apartment building. Your last name could be Johnson and there's more than one Johnson, but they got it confused with you because guess what? Your addresses are so similar. Your names are so similar. So you do want to get that debt validated. You want to have them send out that letter and start that. When you start that 30-day time frame ticking and you have not done it, guess what's going to happen? At the end of that 30 days, they're going to hit your credit report. We don't want that to happen because the moment that it hits your credit report, it could drop your score. And the last thing you want to do is go apply for a car, apply for a home, mortgage loan, whatever financing you may need, and then find out, guess what? You've got a collection agency showing up on your credit report. They just started reporting, and even worse, that debt is not even yours. So yes, validating that debt when you get that collection agency notice is very important. Nowadays, some collection agencies will start to use your email address if you are with a creditor that uses your email address to send statements to you. Very important for you to pay attention to. If you're in a point where an account is charging off, they could be emailing you statements. It could be going to your junk folder. It could be going to your email and you not even realize it. So you want to make sure that with that debt validation process, if you get a letter in the mail, you're calling them, jumping on that, and you can send a letter to the collection agency and let them know, say, hey, this debt isn't mine. I need you to validate it. I need you to prove to me that it is my debt. And when you go through this process, at the end of that 30 days, if it's not yours, guess what? They remove it from the credit bureaus. They remove it from your profile. They apologize, say, oh, I'm so sorry. We'll take care of it. We know it's not yours. And here's the reason why. Here is your proof that we know that this isn't yours. And you keep that on file because it may come in handy. You may need it. You never know. Or keep in mind when you're validating that debt, they may be able to set up arrangements with you if you feel that it really is, or if you know that it's your debt. You just want to see if they have proof. Now, if they do not have proof and cannot validate that debt, guess what? They will remove it from your credit bureau report if it's affecting you. They'll stop contacting you. And with this process, we want to do what's called a cease and desist process when dealing with a collection agency. If you have a debt that's not yours, or if you are victim of harassment, especially with harsh tactics in dealing with collection agencies. Remember I told you you've got rights? This is part of your rights. For you to say, hey, collector, I know I owe you. I haven't forgotten about this debt, but I just can't do it right now. My budget will not allow. And here's my hardship reason. You don't have to go into a whole lot of details, but sometimes going into details may help because now they can say, I get it. I understand your situation and this is what we can do to help you out. If you're able to make payments on this, then we'll stop the clause. Or if I'll note it here that yes, you're going through a job loss, we'll check back in with you in a few months and see if you're able to do something then too. So there are benefits for you reaching out to the creditor and saying, hey, validate this debt for me, or doing the cease and desist process with saying, you're harassing me. I need you to stop. You are able to either call me at this number during this time of day, or even don't call me at all. You have the right to tell these collectors, don't call me at all. If you want anything from me, put it in writing. Send it in the mail. Get me a letter to prove that. Now, when you go through this process, I want you to know that the creditor, then, if you tell them to stop contacting you, they can only contact you for two reasons. They can contact you one more time to say, I received your information, I received your request, we will leave you alone. We still know you owe this debt. You know you owe this debt. We can set up arrangements if you want, but we're not going to call you, you call us. Or they can say, we received your information. We received your request. We're not going to harass you, but guess what? We are going to send this to an attorney. So these are things that you want to be aware of and know what route the creditor will take. If you've got problems dealing with that, you can reach out to a counselor at Family Credit at 800-994-3328 or at familycredit.org. Don't let the letters from the collection agencies or attorneys schedule you or scare you, because you can only do so much with your budget. And you can't draw blood from a turnip, as I always hear them say. So if you're dealing with those things, we'll go over some other tactics in a later show for dealing with it, but I hope this information was helpful to you. Again, if you need some more information, reach out to Family Credit at familycredit.org or 800-994-3328. We'll see you again next week. Take care.